Now we'll focus for the next algorithm, which is called as the selection sort. The next sorting algorithm we are going to examine now, called as selection sort, works by starting at the beginning of an array and comparing the first element with the remaining elements. For bubble sort, we saw that elements like adjacent elements are compared with each other, whereas in selection sort, this is not a scenario. So after examining all the elements, the smallest element is placed in the first position and the algorithm moves to the second element. And automatically second element is compared with the other elements and the position is decided based on the value of the element. So this process continues until the algorithm arrives to the last position, like next to last position, in such a way that all the elements are arranged properly in an ascending order. Nested loops are used in selection sort algorithm. The outer loop moves from the first array of an element to the last element. The inner loop moves from second array of the element to the last element, and so on, looking out for the values that are smaller than the element currently being pointed to by the outer loop. After each iteration of the inner loop, the smallest value in the array is assigned its proper place in the particular array. So that is what is selection sort all about. So let's start with creating a doc type. So the first thing we are going to do over here is like create a new file inside the sorting algorithms, and the name of the file will be selection sort.html. Here we'll start with our doc type declaration, doc type HTML, and inside this I'll specify the HTML tags. The HTML tag will have the head tag, which will have the meta tag, that is meta cassette, UTF-8, and then I'll have the title tag. So this is my title tag, which is mentioning selection sort example. After specifying this, I'll start with my body tag. So my body tag will have the h2 tag associated to it, which says this is the selection sort implementation. And then afterwards we'll have the script tag, which will specify the type as text/JavaScript, and afterwards it will specify the source tag as selection sort.js. Now we will create a file which is the selection sort.js file. So this file will be created inside our folder. So this is my folder. Here I'll create a new file and the name of the file will be selection sort.js. So this file will have all the sorting algorithms as we have discussed in our last chapter, and we implemented the same one for bubble sort. So we'll include each one of them over here. Now I'll start with the comment box where I'll explain you what is the selection sort all about. So this is my implementation of selection sort. So here the elements are listed in this way. Say for example my elements are E, A, D, H, B. So E is compared with the other elements. Now it is seen that E is like greater than some values of the elements. So automatically a position is given to E in such a way like A is thrown before, then comes E, then comes D, then H, then B. Now E is again compared with these three set of elements because this element is obviously lesser, it is visible. Then it goes to the next position based on the value. Obviously E is greater than D, so it gives A, D, E, H and B. Then it compares with H, but H is greater than E, so the value remains same. Now H is being compared with B, so B is moved to this place. So it goes in this way like A, B, so B is moved in this position, and then comes D, then E, then H. So this is like in few steps the algorithm is being sorted properly. So nested loops are used in selection sort algorithm, with the outer loop moves from the first element in the array to the next to last element. The inner loop moves from the second element in the array to the last element, looking for the values which are included in an array. After each iteration of the inner loop, the smallest value in the array is assigned its proper place in the particular array. Now I'll start with the functional logic which is related to the selection sort. So let's start with creating a function. So our function will be similar to that of our basic function, the way we did for bubble sort. So here I'll create a function. So my function name would be function. So it will be in smaller letters, function selection sort with S as capital. We'll follow the conventions over here. And then I'll start with where min, temp, two variables because we are calculating the sorting with the help of min variable. Then we'll do for where outer equals 0, outer less than equal to this dot data store dot length minus 2. Then I'll increment my outer loop over here. Once I'm done with this, I'll do min equals outer, and then I'll specify for where inner equals outer plus 1. Then I'll start with the inner loop as this dot data store dot length minus 1. Then I'll specify with the incremental value of inner. So here I will give the value as if I get the value minimal to the value which is present in my inner loop. So inner will be the index associated to it. So if I get the value which is minimal than the value in the present loop, then I will say this dot data store minimal, and it will call for functionality, that is min equals inner. So once we are done with this part, we'll start with the next functionality after the for loop is to swap this particular numbers. So swapping the numbers would be this dot data store, and it will take another parameter, that is outer and min. So swap takes 3 parameters, so I'll specify the outer and the min parameter over here. Now what I'll do, I'll take a variable, say where num elements equals 10. And then I'll specify where my nums equals new C array, where I'll create the number elements. Or we can start with a small number functionality, say for 5 elements. So that will be for a better understanding for you. Then I'll say my numbers dot set data, and then I'll specify for console. So it will be console.log my nums dot toString, and it will call for my nums dot selection sort. So it will call for algorithm of selection sort, and it will print the value over here. So I'll say console.log. Then I'll call for console.log as my nums dot toString. So I will print the value accordingly the way I get it. Now I'll move to the browser and check how the selection sort is implemented over here. So let's move on to our browser and check for the output. So this was our browser structure for sorting algorithm. So I'll create for selection sort. So selection sort implementation, the h2 tag is represented properly over here. On the other hand, I get a random number, says 20545. So this is a random number which was generated, which is like sorted properly with the logic of selection sort as 02455. So this sorting was in such a way like it takes the minimal value. So what it does, that this sort works by starting the beginning of the array, and this array is compared with the first element and the remaining elements. After examining all the elements, the smallest element is placed in the first position and the algorithm moves to the second position. So this process continues until the algorithm arrives at the next to last position in the array, at which a point of all the data is said to be stored. So this was the basic implementation of selection sort. Moving on to the next example would be understanding about insertion sort, which is also a sorting algorithm quite popular in data structure.